YouTube, what's going on today? How you doing? Hope you're all well and training hard. And special hello to my 33 subscribers. Thank you very much for following me. Hope my journey is helping and inspiring you. If you need any advice, please just leave a message down below. I read all of them and I'll try and get back to you all. So if you need any stretching, core stability, strength work, anything you need, leave a message and I'll see if I can get back to you and make a video. Also gives me a bit of inspiration, a bit of ideas about what everybody wants to see instead of me just waffling on about how I'm recovering from my broken leg. So for the past 3 weeks, I've been getting on the bike. I've been back at the gym and I've been getting on a bike and cycling up to half an hour. Just first of all, getting my range of movement back to normal, a little bit of flexibility, get the strength coming back to the quads, hamstrings, calves, shin muscles, your peroneal muscles, glutes as well. Also being in that cycling position, I've got to use my back muscles to make sure that I'm not hunched over too much. So I'm working a bit on posture as well. I've got the abdominals working. And last week was the first week where I actually was strong enough and flexible enough to push enough resistance to get out of breath and to get sweaty. So that's a good thing. Training's improving. So what I'm going to do with this video today is just basically show you what I do before my cycle. Laying in bed, so my accident was the end of September last year, 2021. Most of the time, anybody who's in the similar boat as me, you're in bed, your leg's on a pillow, so the leg is actually a little bit further forward. So what that basically means is all these front muscles get really, really tight because a leg behind is a stretch. So these muscles get really tight. The other thing that happened to me when I was in bed was I noticed that my hips were twisted. So this left side groin area became very, very tight. So my first bit of cycling, which I've actually put up on my Instagram posts. So if you want to go over to the Instagram account, you can see what I've been doing with the cycling. You can see how my very first cycles, as I cycled up, I didn't have the flexibility here or here, and the leg just gave in. So I did some stretching and everything got better. So beginning of every cycle, that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm going to be showing you what I do today. So we're going to be using one of these green bands. You can use a towel, you can use a skipping rope, you can use whatever you want. Just something to grab hold of a leg. And I'm going to be stretching the hamstrings, backs to thighs. We've got 3 muscle groups. We've got 1 that goes to the outside, and we've got 2 that go to the inside, but all 3 join basically underneath the butt at the bottom of your hip. And what they do is they hang like curtains. So we'll get people who tend to always have really tight hips. One of the main reasons is they sit down too much, so it shortens the hamstring. The other thing as well is the pelvis tilts forward, which means that the hamstrings get pulled up. So they're always in this constant state of tension trying to bring themselves back again. So when we do the hamstring stretch, or when I do the hamstring stretch, you can join in as much as you want. You've got to make sure that you get your abdominals working, and you've got to make sure you get your butt muscles working. So then when we go into the stretch, what you'll feel is you'll feel the hips wanting to tilt forward too much. So when we're in position, you can use your abdominal muscles, and you're going to use your butt muscles, and you're going to produce a pelvic tilt. Okay? So most of the time, we'll unfortunately be in this forward tilt, and now we're just going to draw it underneath. So I'm going to get myself set up on the floor, and I'll see you down there. See you in a second. Okay, so got the mat all sorted, got the band. I'm just going to get on the floor now. Try to. It's getting much easier. Just moving around is getting much, much easier. Okay, so what we're going to do from here, as I say, we're going to stretch the hamstrings. Every time we stretch the hamstrings, our pelvis and lower back are going to try and round off a little bit too much. Okay, so we're going to try and see if we can maintain this lower back posture. It's going to be a lot easier as we lay down. So, into position, grab the band, towel, rope, whatever you need to use. Pop it around the foot. Hold onto the band. Now with a foot, for most people, the foot wants to roll in. So what we can do is we can use the outside hand to pull that foot square again. Now what this will probably do as well is give you a little bit more of a calf stretch, which isn't such a bad thing, because probably for most of us, everything needs a bit more flexibility, everything needs a lot more strength. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that my lower back stays in this neutral position, slight arch in the lower back. Don't allow that lower back to get completely flat on the floor. I'm just going to use my arms to pull that leg back. Nice and gentle, so you feel a stretch running along here. If I do that side on for you guys. So we can either have the legs slightly bent to begin with, and we can just start to move that stretch back. As soon as you feel it, that's a stretch. That's as far as you need to go. It doesn't have to be massively painful. It just has to be noticeable that you're getting that stretch through the hamstrings. We can relax a little bit, come back into that stretch. Now the stretch sensation, what you're actually feeling when you're feeling a stretch, is the muscle trying to contract. It doesn't want to lengthen, it feels a little bit nervous, it thinks something bad's going to happen if it does relax. And also we've just been teaching it to stay tight all the time. So in our mind, we've really got to try and focus on the bit, feel it wanting to tighten up, and learn, because stretching it's a learned skill, just like getting stronger. You learn how to get stronger. You learn how to switch those muscle fibers off. If it gets a little bit too intense, if you get pins and needles, you can come off the stretch, let everything come back to normal again, and then you go back into that hamstring stretch. If you want to bring some more calf into it, bring the band just at the ball of the foot. As we get that hamstring stretch coming back, we can also pull the toes and foot down towards the shins. Point, releases the stretch, and then we can pull it back down again. Now the hamstrings, you've got three of, as I mentioned when I was standing up. One of them works on the outside, two of them work on the inside. All three bend the knee. But the one on the outside, it turns the foot out as well. So any of you who sit down or walk and you've noticed your feet are always turned out, you'll probably find that the outside hamstring is a lot tighter. So easiest way, maybe not the nicest, but the easiest way to stretch that is bring the leg across. So if the hamstring wants to do that as a contraction, we need to come across to produce a stretch. And because it is super tight at the moment, I'll only hold it for maybe 20 seconds or so. And then I'll come back, just let the nervous system calm down a little bit. Then I'll go back into that stretch again. And I'll stretch across. What we've also got is as I mentioned, we've got the two inside hamstrings, plus we've got the adductor muscles. These are the muscles that pull the leg across the body. So the butt muscles take the leg away, abductors. The inner thigh muscles are the adductors, and they bring them in. You've got one of those adductors that cross the knee. The others stop at the above the knee. You've got one which crosses. So the way we get a good stretch there, you've probably already guessed it, is take that leg out. So we're holding onto the band for a bit of support. We can see how tight it is because my hips are trying to go across with it because it doesn't want to stretch. So we've got to make sure we square those hips back up again and allow that leg just to hang out. Just breathe. Really important you breathe, especially on the breath out. Every time you do a stretch and you hold your breath, what you're doing is you're actually promoting muscle tension. So whenever you're lifting a heavy weight, you notice how your body holds onto its breath because it's really, really good for producing tension, which isn't very good for stretching. So when you're stretching, you can either hold for 30 seconds, hold for a minute, hold for 3 minutes, hold for whatever you need to do. But it's really important, it's vital actually, You really work on the exhale. You'll notice as you breathe in, the stretch will increase. And then as you breathe out all the way, emptying your lungs, the muscle will just switch off a lot easier. The body will relax, and you'll actually get a lot more benefit from the flexibility work that you're doing. So we've got the hamstring stretch. We've got the bicep femoris, so the outside hamstring stretch by bringing the leg across. We've got the two inside hamstrings, plus the adductors, which you're getting a stretch as we bring the leg out. And I'm sure all of you who have had a frame on or have had the leg in a position where it's been straight and probably on a cushion as well, which mine still is when I get home, when I get to bed. I've still got my foot on the cushion because after a day at work, the foot's pretty swollen. So I just need that to just calm down a little bit. But the quadriceps get really, really tight. And a muscle that helps the quadriceps do some movements are the hip flexors. And the hip flexors actually start on the inside of the thigh. And they travel through into the lower back. And there's also another hip flexor which inserts just on the spine. So when these muscle groups get tight, what you'll notice is as you're sitting down, everything locks up. And then as you stand up, again, we've got that forward tilt through the pelvis. And it's because these hip flexors are pulling us forwards, trying to get short. So it's really important we get these muscles stretched. And we can use the same band. We can stay on the floor. This time all we do is we roll onto our front. Well, actually, I'll go this way, just so you can see what happens with the lower back. So if I get into position, hook the band around the foot, turn around, and then we can just pull that band so we can pull the heel closer towards the bum. Now, the more stretch you try and produce, the more the pelvis wants to tilt, compressing that lower back. So draw the abdominals off the floor, squeeze the butt cheeks, and try and round the pelvis back into its neutral position. And what you'll notice is just by tilting the pelvis, you'll get a much deeper front thigh quadricep stretch. And yet again, I'll hold this to begin with, work on the breaths. If I notice when I take my breath out that the stretch decreases or I feel less of a stretch, then I'll just pick up the slack and just try and produce that stretch a little bit more. Take a deep breath in. You'll feel the stretch increase, and then exhale all the way. Keep working on that pelvic tilt. I would probably say if you haven't done much of this, I always say try and stretch for around about 3 minutes a joint. And the reason, and time it as well. 3 minutes, if you don't like stretching, 3 minutes goes by ridiculously slowly. And after a minute, you think it's 3. So get a stopwatch on it. And if you're finding that you're spending too much time thinking about the time and how long's left, how long is going, and then you notice you actually held your breath, focus on 5 breaths, then focus on 10 breaths, and just keep working on that, because the better you get at breathing out all the way, the easier every single stretch that you will ever do from now on will become. Okay? So we've got some good hamstring stretches. Leg comes back, pull the foot back, gives you a calf stretch. The outside hamstring gets really tight, so it turns the foot out. So we take that leg across the body as such. We've also got, I've definitely got tight inner thigh muscles, so take the leg across while trying to keep the hips square. And then with that quad stretch, you can either be on your front or do you know what? There's so many different ways of stretching. If you find that any of these stretches which I'm recommending or showing you that I do don't work well for you, again, leave a message down at the bottom. There are so many stretches for the same muscle group. So the quad stretch where I was laying on the floor, on my front, I can do on the side. The same rules apply. We're using the band to stretch the knee or to bend the knee. And we've just got to make sure that the pelvis doesn't tilt forward too much. We draw the abdominals in and we draw the butt muscle in as well. What you'll probably notice is as you square your hips back up, the knee went forward a little bit. So your body will try and manipulate what you do. So if I was to bring the knee back, it wouldn't come back just because of the flexibility. It would come back because I've unfortunately allowed my pelvis to be tilted. So square yourself off at all times. Find out what range you do have, what your true range is, and then work around those junctions. Okay? Quads, hamstrings, inner thighs, adductors, outer thighs, abductors, and there we go. So I'm going to carry on with this for another probably 15 minutes. Do both sides, so not just my tight side. I want to know what good is, if there is a good, or I want to know what really bad is. Also, I want to feel the sensations between where the break site is and how that hurts, and then on the other side as well. So I'm just continually learning about my own body. Then I'll get myself on a bike, which again, if you go off to my Instagram account, you'll find over the last few weeks what I've been doing. If you want a video of me cycling and talk about how I'm doing it and what I'm actually doing, just leave me a message. Okay, guys and girls, I hope that helps. Hope you haven't got too bored. Stretching can be boring for some of us, but it really is a necessity. And actually, one of the reasons, now I've just remembered why I've decided to do this hamstring stretch or show you lot, is because these muscle groups have been getting stronger with the training I've been doing. But as they get stronger, they also get tighter. And as they get tighter, they start to pull and manipulate where the kneecap goes. So walking upstairs, but especially walking downstairs or taking the leg behind my body, it's just been catching a little bit. And I just know from all my years of experience that a lot of it has to do with your quadriceps being very, very tight or slightly imbalanced, where one is tight and it pulls that kneecap across. So we need to stretch it off and we need to continually stretch. Okay, I'll leave it there because I could keep going on for ages. I hope you have a good time stretching. Relax, breathe, and give me a shout. Let me know how it goes. And if you need anything, give me a shout. Take care. See you later. Bye-bye.